Alarm bells go off every time the mention of a right-wing candidate winning in Europe, especially in Italy, because immediately people will start drawing comparisons with Mussolini, who was a dictator. This right wing, left wing, I think it's all a bunch of balderdash. What it is if somebody has some views that are more consumer oriented and more friendly towards a system which is hands off as far as government is concerned, that's what I look as somebody who might be right wing, because they just don't happen to be left wing. A left wing always defines itself as being socialist, being able to try and have the government take care of its populace. So anything that doesn't do that and let people decide what they want to do is what is right wing in my book. However, what has happened now is Gloria Mittoni has won the Italian prime ministership. Her coalition is the one that's going to be ruling Italy. Again, Italian governments last very few years, sometimes less than a year. So we have to wait and see how long this is going to take hold and stay. What is also interesting is the nervousness that is being displayed in the Biden administration. In a press conference, 𝗣𝗂𝘂𝗰𝘀𝘀𝘀, the spokesperson, talked about how Italy is a member of NATO and that respects the people's will. And she said all this without taking the name of Meloni, which is very, very strange. I mean, US is a democracy, Italy is a democracy. People will vote whoever they think will serve them best. So you should just accept it and move on. However, the US is nervous. Why? Because winter is almost upon Europe. Russia has stopped giving them gas. So heating problems are going to start. How quickly is Europe going to find an alternative source for gas is going to define how serious and united this coalition against Russia is going to be in the EU. So people think that because there's a right-wing government in place in Italy, therefore that government will be more or better disposed towards Russia. I kind of doubt that, because everyone is looking into this for their own country. That's how any politician should be. The greater good of the world comes in afterwards. First, what's best for their country. And I think Prime Minister Meloni will again look for what suits Italy's interests best, whether being in NATO and towing the line of NATO or do the opposite. So I don't expect any change. However, Biden administration perhaps thinks that change is in the air in Washington, D.C. also. If they lose Congress and if they lose Senate, essentially the last 2 years of the Biden administration will be a lame duck. It will not be able to pass any legislations. In fact, if anything, they may be reversing some of the things that they already did. For instance, I expect some really, really strong action against Hunter Biden, against the illegal immigration going on unchecked. All those things are going to come to the fore as United States will battle that. Plus, remember that US also has to deal with China. Many in the United States feel that the Biden administration is too well disposed towards China, although they have not lifted the tariffs yet. But the fact that they have not said a word against China and they suddenly identified Russia as their main enemy is kind of throwing people off. So we have to wait and see what happens there. In my opinion, this is not the first. In France, in Hungary, in Sweden, you're seeing the rise of the right. And this is just happening because people are disaffected. They are not very happy, dissatisfied with the current regimes in all these countries which lean left. So nothing wrong in it. Democracy will have a way to correct itself. And anyone who's very left becomes more center, and anyone who's very right will also become more center. If you watch the acceptance speech of Gloria Mittoni, you can see that she says that we need to get back to family values, people, parents, parenthood, lifestyle. So these are all the things that she's emphasizing on. There's nothing wrong in that. And she has taken pot shots at some of these woke terms like Gen X, Gen 1, Gen 2, Gen 3, and so on and so forth, which I think it has really gone too far, in my opinion. This individual freedom is actually bad for the society as a whole. So that's what is the plank on which she has run. So we have to accept that. And Italians have chosen this for their next few years. So let's accept it and move on, rather than trying to say that this is wrong. I think this has become a very standard hallmark now across countries. If things don't go their way, they immediately start saying there's something wrong, and so on and so forth. Move on, guys. Grow up. This is democracy. Democracy, things like this happen. People are not very happy with what you do. Look back and see what your record was. What did you do that went wrong? So these are the things that have to be looked at. Plus, there is still an overhang of COVID on the world, and that also makes things difficult for people. They might think that the present government did not do enough. Let's give a chance to the other side. So that's how it should be looked at. I believe, in my opinion, Meloni is going to be just as good as Mario Draghi, who was the outgoing prime minister, he was like the cheerleader of the Biden administration. Maybe she's going to be a little less gung-ho, but nevertheless, she's going to look out for the interests of her country first, and then the NATO, the G7, and anything else that follows after that. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to click on the bell button for notifications. Namaskar. Thank you.